This is the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, sometimes Daylight Savings Time, but it's Eastern. And we're here for you, looking at life through a biblical lens. We have a sociology professor writing an article printed in the Huffington Post about religion around the world. And his research shows that religion around the world is in decline. He says the recent studies show the world is becoming more and more secular. They pay him for this. He has grants and people working to tell him this. You can stick your head out your back door and learn this. But he has the statistics. He says, indeed, as a recent National Geographic report confirms, the world's newest religion is no religion. Now keep in mind, as we go through the facts he's going to unfold here, he's just talking about Western civilization. Oddly enough, he doesn't cover any of the animistic religions. He doesn't get into any of the Native American things, or South American or African, or any of these Oriental. He doesn't talk about any of that. He's written this column. It points to the fact that there are more atheists and agnostics than believers in the world. No, in Norway and in Britain. So he's just focused here. And this is another one of those duh moments. Nearly 70% of the Dutch say they are not affiliated with any religion, while in the United States that number is between 23 and 28%. But in the United States that number is going up. Now only 20% of the people in Japan claim to be religious, and in Iceland 0% of people believe that God created the earth. Professor Zuckerman says that as people stop being religious, so will their children. But predictions from Pew Research show that secularity will level off in a few decades because religious people still have more children than secular adults. But in the midst of all of this, we still have Islam. Islam is predicted by those same studies to be the world's largest religion by 2050, primarily as a result of births. We're killing our babies, we're stopping them from being born because we're more sophisticated, and they're having babies like there's no tomorrow. And under Islamic law, if you're born into it, you are it. If you try to get out, they'll cut your head off. See? We try to encourage our children. We try to pattern our children. We try to live a good life in front of them and show them the difference. These people just say, you're going to do what I tell you and you're going to have this thing. I'm going to cut your head off. Which is more effective? Which is more efficient? Ignored here is the reality of humanity. Somebody hasn't been thinking too much about this. Human beings are inherently self-centered and domineering. They want what they want, and they want it when they want it. It's that simple. But all human beings worship something, even if it's just themselves. The good professor is also ignoring the obvious reality that these statistics only deal with Western civilization, and it doesn't branch out and cover the world so that we get a better picture. The Western civilization in view is the one social group that our public, euphemistically referred to as public school educators and sociologists, have been militating against for the last 70 to 90 years. And they've been doing that through our educational system. They won't even teach Western civilization anymore. When I was in North Carolina, they had a new the education committee or whatever it is on the state level came out with these new guidelines, and when it came to history, they said because there's so much information, we're not going to start teaching our high school kids history until after the Civil War. Now, they showed their ignorance. It's a southern state, people. There weren't no Civil War. You got to listen to a guy from New Jersey to tell you this. There's never been a civil war in this country. It was the war between the states. The states had the right to stand up and say, we don't want to be part of this anymore. It's called a 10th Amendment. The federal government, under the leadership of a tall, lanky lawyer from Illinois, who just barely got elected on a technicality, called up the militia to put down what he referred to as a rebellion. No constitutional authority to do that, my friends, but that's what he did. And eventually, 60 million Americans died. It's an amazing story. But our educational system is intent that we forget everything about the founding of this country, everything about the Constitution, the Magna Carta, everything and anything up to the beginning of the New Deal. No, was that what it was called? No. Reconstruction. Beginning with Reconstruction, that's Western history. No, that's politics. And don't forget native animism or spiritism. Those are all good. It's Christianity that's bad. Native religions, they're pure. Christianity, that's corrupt. The change agents, the globalists, the social architects want a secular world. Secularists are easier to control. A secular society is a more open society, a more vulnerable society. Why? Because without God, without that concept of objective morality, people can do whatever they want. And they can call it right. And they can call it good. We can kill babies and say it's right to do it. You can be a man and decide to be a woman. I will be punished if I don't accept that fact. Did you know over in Great Britain there are young men, and I'm not talking 2 or 3, I'm talking scores of young men who identify as dogs. They wear the outfits. I've seen them. They wear these outfits like pajamas that look like dog skin and heads with eyes cut out. They're dogs. And they want their wives to treat them like puppies. You see, you thought this thing was just, well, this is a problem. No, human beings are amazing. They'll do anything. We got a woman who's being considered by pundits for a vice president who said she was an Indian because, well, she had high cheekbones, and everybody in her family said, oh yeah, you come from Indian blood. They found out there wasn't an ounce of Indian blood anywhere near her or her family. I got a great-great-grandmother who was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian right up the street in Union County, South Carolina, back in the turn of the 19th century. I got pictures of her. I don't get to claim that I'm part Indian because it's one generation too far away. Can't be more than 4 generations and get the benefits. She didn't even have any. I could have got away with it. Just look around. We protect the whales. We protect the polar bears. The babies, we don't care about. We protect indigenous societies. And we try with everything in our being to eliminate Western civilization. We protect free expression. We hold it up as a sacred standard, but we eliminate, outlaw any mention of the one true God of heaven. Professor Zuckerman is right. He simply just didn't go far enough. He didn't tell us why. Why, you ask? Well, because men hate God. That's simple.